Hi everyone, welcome back to EmpowHer. This is Suchi, and today we're talking about something that every woman feels at some point in her life, a womb that goes silent, heavy, or numb, and we really don't understand why. So, in this episode, I want to break this down clearly, scientifically, and in a way that helps you finally understand what your womb has been trying to tell you for years together. So, let's begin with something that still blows my mind. A girl's ovaries are formed when she's inside her mother's womb, right? Which means technically, a part of your reproductive system was once inside your grandmother. What does that mean? That means her stress, her hormonal environment, her emotional reality, and all of it, shaped the foundation that you were born with. This isn't spiritual poetry. This is epigenetics. Most women grow up feeling that their emotions and their reproductive health are separate things, but they're actually deeply connected. Your womb and your brain are in constant communication through something called the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis or the HPO axis. The moment you experience emotional stress, the brain signals the ovaries. If you suppress emotions for too long, your cortisol rises. If you're in chronic fight or flight, the body deprioritizes ovulation. And if you've gone through emotional trauma, the pain pathways become more sensitive. So when women say, my womb feels heavy or my cycles are off, this isn't random. This is the nervous system speaking through the body. Interesting, right? Very interesting. Okay. So I don't know how many of you have heard of the polyvagal theory, but that explains that this whole concept you'll understand through it. It says when the body feels unsafe, it activates different survival states. So let's just say in fight mode, you may feel pelvic tightness or cramps. And in flight mode, your cycles become irregular. Anxiety shows up and the body becomes restless. In freeze mode, the libido drops, sensations reduce, and numbness appears. And what was the last one? Yeah, the fawn, sorry, the fawn mode. Here, many women, this is the state that many women live in, where you overgive, you people please, and your womb becomes exhausted because you're constantly emotionally abandoning yourself. The womb reacts to stress instantly because reproductively, its job is to respond to your safety, right? That's neurobiology. So you must be like, wow, Suchi, like so much science today because I'm like, now just everyone who's so logical and not understanding the importance of womb healing has to understand how important it is for every woman, every woman. So, okay, let's just talk about what you've inherited. A lot of women carry emotional patterns, right? That didn't even start with them. So, in 2015, researchers studying children of Holocaust survivors found that trauma can be passed down not through genes, but the way the genes activate. That is epigenetic inheritance. So if your mother or grandmother, they lived through silencing, abuse, emotional neglect, unhappy marriages, miscarriage, patriarchy, or lack of support or overwork, their stress responses got encoded into their cells. So their cells, they became your womb. So if you feel fear, shutdown, guilt, or exhaustion in your womb, it might actually belong to generations before you. And that doesn't make you weak, it makes you aware. You must be wondering why I'm smiling because I can see how that bulb is just shining in your head, like, hey, this is where it's coming from. So, okay, women often describe a sensation in the womb, that has no words. Maybe they say something like, hey, it's a heaviness, a pull, tightness, or a block. And you know what it is? The reason is the fascia or the fascia, however you pronounce it. It's the connective tissue surrounding your womb, pelvic floor, and the lower abdomen. And this fascia, it stores emotional tension. And this is proven in somatic theory. So when you haven't processed grief, disappointment, uh, mm, heartbreak, rage, or even fear, so your fascia is still like literally holding it. Like the womb sits inside this network. So of course, she remembers what the mind forgot. So this is not imagination, this is somatic biology. Now let's go into some common conditions. So first one, my favorite, PCOD or PCOS. It's linked to insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, high cortisol. So when the body feels unsafe, it slows or just pauses ovulation. Then ovarian cysts, the ovarian cysts, they are formed when the follicles don't rupture, which often happens in dysregulated hormonal states. Then fibroids, they grow in estrogen dominant environments and inflamed tissues. So the medical reality is important, but there's also an emotional correlation. Chronic stress, internal pressure, holding burdens for too long, or staying in situations emotionally so long after the soul has left. These, they just don't cause the conditions directly, but they influence how severe they become when the body heals. You must be thinking like Suchi is like in full mode today because, dude, I have, I'm talking from the space of medical science, which I really, really love, and I'm bridging somatic science and spirituality to it. So I'm just like super excited. So please, please, please just forgive me for my excitement today. Okay. 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 So here's another pattern almost no woman talks about, feeling the pain, sickness, or exhaustion after being happy or relaxed. That used to happen to me all the time, by the way. So this happens because the nervous system is so used to survival mode. When joy or rest arrives suddenly, the body doesn't recognize it. Neuroscience, calls it the vagal whiplash. So you feel headaches, nausea, body aches, or just emotional drops. This is not you being dramatic, by the way. This is your nervous system recalibrating. The womb is also a part of the enteric nervous system, often called the second brain. The pelvis and the gut, they hold nearly 500 million neurons. That is 90% of serotonin is made in the gut. So this is why emotions hit your stomach or womb first. You feel that, like, suddenly you just feel that tightness in your gut. You feel like running to the washroom, or you just have cramps. This is why. So when you suppress emotions, the pelvic floor tightens. When you feel safe, the pelvis just opens up. The woman feels everything here, the pelvis, like, because biologically the pelvis is designed to respond to emotional reality. So, okay, so why does the womb go silent? I'll give you 4 reasons for it, okay, quickly. One, long-term stress and cortisol. It blocks ovulation and it flattens the hormonal rhythm. Two, emotional trauma. It disrupts signaling between the brain and the ovaries. Three, freeze states. You're just freezing. That creates numbness and shutdown. And four, suppressed anger. It creates pelvic floor tightness, which affects everything from periods to intimacy. The womb goes silent not because she's weak. I want you to remember this, but because she's overwhelmed. So, touch is one of the most powerful ways to regulate this. When you place your hand on your womb, the body just releases oxytocin. The heart rate slows, the vagus nerve just activates, and the cortisol goes down. This is why the womb connection, practices, you know, this is why we practice womb connection, because not because it's mystical or spiritual or whatever, but because they regulate your physiology in real time. So, how do we heal this? Okay. So, scientifically, today's episode is all about science, science, science. Okay. Okay. I'll give you 4 clear steps. Step one, regulate your nervous system. How do we do that? Breath work. All if you know the box breathing, 4, 4, 4. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. Okay. That you can do your pranayams and just breathe. You know what? Just breathe. Okay. Then grounding, like walking in the grass, staying still, reading a book, walking in the garden, walking by the seaside, or just being in touch with nature. And most importantly, slowing down. Slowing down that helps restore your hormonal balance. Second, allow expression. How so? How do we do that? I've been always mentioning, but once again today, journaling, crying, movement, any form of emotional release for that matter, that reduces the tension stored in the pelvis. And third, build connection. How do we do that? Womb touch, warmth, and awareness. What do? They activate the oxytocin pathway and they restore safety. And fourth, integrate. Rewrite the beliefs and stress patterns that kept your body in survival mode. This is how epigenetic expressions they begin to shift. Your womb isn't confusing, my dear. She is just responding to your life, your stress, your emotional patterns, and your history. So when you understand the science behind your body, everything begins to make sense. Your womb has never been silent, you know. You just weren't taught her language. Yeah. Okay. I hope this episode really helped you connect the dots. So just share it with another woman, you know, who needs to hear this. And if you like to go deeper into womb healing, emotional regulation, and feminine health, make sure you subscribe and then reach out to me for a one-on-one session. You can email me or DM me on Instagram. All right. There are many more powerful conversations that are upcoming. So thank you for being here and thank you for taking your healing seriously. This is Suchi signing off. Until next time. Bye bye.